Okay, so we're going to go over waitlists and registration issues related around waitlists and kind of how to deal with waitlists when they occur. And basically any issues when it comes to seat counts in a course. We all know from time to time seat counts can get off occasionally, or we have a wait list and we want to add seats to a class. And before we do any of that, it's always my suggestion, and the suggestion of the support staff, to go and check the actual data associated with that course before you go and make any changes using course utilities. And we provided an export information report for you to get that accurate data. And I'm going to walk you through the steps that I typically follow when I am dealing with a course that has a wait list, or any time there's a seat count issue. You know, it doesn't matter even if there's a wait list or not. Whenever a client emails or calls support and says, "Hey, I'm having issues with the seats," this is the export that I open immediately to help start giving me a picture of what's going on. So if you go to the export information menu, which you can access two different ways if you have the PD manager role or if you have a system manager role. So PD manager, it's under management, PD manager export info, or system manager export info. When you get there, you can filter to find it a little quicker, and it's called course session counts. And as with any export info, you're going to click on the magnifying glass to open that report into an additional window. You know, and if it doesn't open, check for pop-up blockers. Okay. So let's go ahead. And so I've opened a sample here, and I've already filtered it down to give you an idea of what it looks like. So you want to filter to the course you're working on. And I've actually scrolled over to the meat of the report, as I like to say, the part that's of interest to me. And on this particular export, the fields that I'm most interested in are seats available and seats remaining. This is going to mirror the information you will see if you go to tab 7 of the course request. That's the data that's going to show up on that page. And then the information that is really important and interesting to me are these next 4 columns: pending, enrolled, canceled, and waiting, because this is your real, true, live data as what is found in the database in the enrollment tables. Okay? And you can use this data here to paint a picture or to answer questions if this data here is actually accurate or not, or if we need to make some adjustments before we use the course utilities tool to either move people in if it's a wait list or whatever. You know, it's kind of, it gives us kind of, if we're a detective, it's that finding the facts so that we know what steps we need to follow in order to complete our tasks. Okay? So hopefully that makes sense. So let's go to the next slide. So let's kind of zero in on those particular columns that or those columns of information I was talking about. So how can I quickly figure out if my data is accurate or not? Well, it involves math. And the easiest way for me to figure that out is I take my seats available column and I subtract my enrolled column and get a total. And if everything's accurate, this total should equal what's in the seats remaining. So if I have 10 seats available, I subtract my enrolled, my math 10 minus 7 equals 3 equals seats remaining, and this total and this matches. So I know that on this particular class, all of my seat count data is accurate. So that's good. I don't have any problems with my seat count. What if I have a wait list? Because sometimes that math, you know, people panic when you got another factor to consider. It's just easy. We just add in another line to our little mathematical problem here. Same concept. Seats available goes on top. That's our big number. We're going to subtract out our enrolled and also subtract out our waiting column. So this column here. and that's going to give us our seats remaining. So if we had 2 seats to begin with, 2 people enrolled, that makes 0, minus 1 leaves us with a total of -1. So we have 1 waiting, -1 remaining. Our math is also good. So this class, the seat count is accurate as well. So no problems here. So if we wanted to move this person off the wait list into the class, we could go to Course Utilities, add a seat to that class, so we could make it 3 available, and boom, they're in the class. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so moving on. But what happens when things don't add up? So let's look at an example where the math isn't accurate. Okay, so here I've got seats available, 10. I've got enrolled as 3. Well, my total should be 7, but if I look up here in my example, it's 5. So I can tell right away something went wrong along the course of, it's often hard to know exactly what happened. Sometimes it's because someone with an instructor role actually went into tab 7 and made changes. That happens from time to time. We tell them not to, but you can't control people. They're well-meaning. They think they're helping. Or oftentimes people ask, the support team, hey, can you move this person in from the wait list? Well, we do, but we don't always go and check and adjust the seat count, because oftentimes you're asking us to bump someone ahead and we don't want to accidentally put someone in the class, so we don't touch the seat count. Or, things just happen. We don't always know the why. So things do get off from time to time. So this is a way to help you find out if things aren't accurate, so that you can address the issue to move forward. Okay, so we know that there's an issue with this course. And if we wanted to add seats, we need to fix the issue before we can add the seats. So the next step would be to go back to Course Request and go to tab 7. And this would be the only time that we would advise actually making changes to the seats on this tab once a course is open. We don't like to do this because it can make inaccurate data, but since we have inaccurate data, this is the one time we need to fix it, because we've checked it using our report, so we know what the total should be. So we would go and we would click on the pencil and we would open this record and we would adjust the 5 and make it 7, so that our math, 10 minus 3 equals 7, not 5. And then we would save our changes. And then after that, we could go to Course Utilities. So let's say I have a class that's got a wait list, and I want to move those people into the class, so off of the wait list. And I've checked, I know that the seat count is accurate. Then I would go to my Course Utilities. I would select seats. I would find the course. I'd pick the session that I'm working with, and I would add the new total course seats in here. So I had 20. There was 2 on the wait list. Now I want to offer 25 seats. So that would move those 2 people in, and I would have 3 additional seats left over. I would press save. The system would think for a second. I get the little spinning wheel because it's sending 2 emails to those 2 participants, letting them know they've been added to the class. And if you have the default set, it would also send a notification to the instructor, letting them know that those 2 people have been moved in, because typically they get the email because someone canceled their registration, but in this case, because you've added seats. Hopefully that makes sense as well. Okay, so remember, it's always the best policy with the wait list to check and make sure your seat count data is accurate before you use Course Utilities. Then you don't have any of those weird problems, so that you end up calling support and saying, hey, I used Course Utilities and things didn't go so smoothly. This is exactly what we do. Okay. So let's go practice a few examples on the release site, just to kind of put this in our brain, build a little muscle memory. Okay, so let me pause the slideshow. Hold on here. A little technical difficulty here. All right, and let's pull up the release site. Obviously, I don't know how to use my computer today. Ah, stuff in the wrong spot whenever I need it to be. Come on, move, move, move. Ah, sorry about that. Okay, so here I am on my release site, and I'm going to start with a course that I know has issues. So I see 317, it's got a wait list, and I want to get rid of that wait list. But before I do that, I want to check my seat count and see if it's accurate or not. So I'm going to go pull up the export information. And I'm looking for the course session count, which is right here. I'm going to open that, and I'm going to filter to 317. And here's my data. And like I said, specifically, we're going to focus on this section here. And I see right away we've got some differences. So I have seats available as 15. And we're going to go seats available minus enrolled. So 15 minus 18 gives me -3 minus 3 actually gives me -6. So actually my data is right. Just somehow these two numbers got off originally. So if that really bugged me, I could make this be 18 and change that to be -3. But actually that's not true because there is well, that is true because there's only 3 on the wait list. So we're going to fix that because this should be 18 enrolled because that's how many seats really should have been available, and there's only 3 on the wait list. So let's fix that before we use our course utilities, just to make it as accurate and as true. All right, so we're going to go to tab 7. Like I said, this is the one time it's okay to come in here and make changes. So there's 18 enrolled, so that's our seats available. And we really only have 3 on the wait list, so we're going to make -3, and we're going to press save. So now this is a more accurate picture. If I came back here and I refreshed, it actually matches up too. Okay. So now I could go to, oops, not invite register, sorry. Go to course utilities, and I can go find select seats, and I can put in 317. Find the session, single session course, that makes it nice and easy. And I'm like, well, how many seats? Well, I've got 18. I want to put in 3. So I need to put in make it at least 21. But maybe I want to make room for more people. So let's make my new total seats 25. I'm going to press save. It's going to think. It's going to send an invitation to those 3 people, inviting them, letting them know that they've been moved off the wait list and into the course, and I'm done. All right, let's go practice with another course. I have course 300. Let's look at that one. Okay, so course 300, I have 24 seats available, only 23 enrolled, 4 on the wait list, which is right, 4 remaining. But isn't that interesting? This is off by 1. So how would I want to fix this? Well, what I would recommend doing is making that seats available and enrolled actually match, because we know the wait list is correct. There is -4. So we're going to actually make our seats available and enrolled be the same. So we're going to go back to course request, and we're going to find course 300. And we're going to go to tab 7. And we're going to make that be accurate. So now we know it's 23 and 4. We're going to save it. And just like we did before, we can now go to course utilities. And same thing. Well, let's put in 30 seats so we know everybody gets moved in, and we've got a couple extras in case we want to put some more people in afterwards. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's do one more course just for fun. And I've written down course 266. Let's see what's going on with course 266. Okay, this is the multi-session course. And looks like we've got 45 seats available, 38 remaining, and 4 enrolled. So we're just going to be checking our math. Simple as that. So if we take 45, hold on here. So if we take 45 and we subtract 4, that leaves us with 41. So that tells me we need to adjust our seats remaining because it's not correct. And same with 45 minus 3, would be, sorry, I can't talk and think here, would be 42. So we just need to adjust those. So that'd be 41 and 42. So we'll just go back. This one we don't need to add any seats to. We just need to clean up our seats because they're not quite accurate. And, we'd end up down the line with potentially less people enrolled than we could have. So we just want to fix it and make it accurate. So this one we decided was actually 41 seats available. We'll save that. And we decided this one was 42, I believe. And this one's also 41. So we don't need to use course utilities on this one. Hopefully that makes sense. So that's a way to check if your seat counts are accurate or not and how to fix them when they get off. Okay, let me go back to our PowerPoint real quick and show you a couple other things. And I hate that it goes back. Hold on, I'm getting back to where we left off. Okay. All right. So you might want to run a quick check of the seat counts of all your courses. It might not be practical if you've had your portal for a little while, so you might want to filter it down to maybe just this year. But here is how I would do that. I would go to the export menu and find the course session export, and I would open it and I would export it to Excel, or you could do it by a date range even. I think there's a date filter in there, whatever. But find the group of courses that you want to work with. And then there's a couple formulas that I like to add to my Excel file that help me kind of do the work, so to speak. And I'm going to show you those formulas on the next couple slides. All right. So the first thing I do in the P column, I add a new column and I title it remaining. And then I add a simple sum formula. So I'm going to add column J minus column M, which is the enrolled, minus column O, which is the waiting, and I'm going to get a total. And this will be my new remaining total. And then I'm going to drag that formula to the bottom of the sheet so it does it in all the columns. So that's the first thing I do. And then I like to add a column next to that one in column Q, and I call it the match question mark. And this is one of my favorite formulas. I use it on a lot of different things, and it's a comparing formula where you can compare two columns in a spreadsheet to see if the data matches or not. And I have this formula where I'm telling it to compare column K, so my seats remaining, comparing it to column P, my remaining. And if they don't match, it's going to display the words no match. And then I'm going to drag that formula to the bottom of my spreadsheet as well. And I'm going to end up with my spreadsheet like this, and I'm going to filter specifically that column Q, the match one, just to show me the results that do not match. And then I know I'll have a list of the sessions and the courses that I might want to go back and clean up, so to speak. So let's go and kind of put that in action. Let me walk you through how to do that on the release site. So let me close this real quick and get ready to do that. So we're going to go back to, export, and we're going to open that session course counts. And I'm just going to scroll the bottom page, and I'm going to export the entire results. Like I said, you could there is a date range. So if you wanted to do maybe by end date and just do the school year instead of getting your entire course thing, because I know some of you have had your portal for multiple years now, and that would, I mean, old posted courses you might not care about, but maybe just the current ones would be of interest. And I'm going to go ahead and open that Excel file. Let's enable editing. And so the first thing I'd like to do is I add a column here, and I like to call it remaining. You can call it whatever you want, but it's just for my brain, that's what works. And I'm going to add that little formula that I talked about. So I'm going to come in here and actually type it in here. And so it was a sum of seats available, subtracting out the enrolled and anything on the waiting list. And I got this nice little formula here. And I'm going to just drag it to the bottom of my list. And I know there's a shortcut, and I can never remember it. But there you go. See, I've got a total now in every column. I'm going to highlight it because I like color. So that's my remaining. And I'm actually going to highlight this because this is the one I'm comparing it to in a minute. I'm very visual. Color helps keep me on track because I want to just pay attention to the two fields I'm going to be looking at. But I'm going to highlight in a slightly different color because I'm weird that way. Okay, so those are the two fields we're going to be comparing. Now I'm going to add another column, and I'm going to call this my match column. And I'm going to put in that other fancy formula. Like I said, my favorite formula. It's my comparing formula. And like I said, I use this a lot for all sorts of things, not, all sorts of data comparison and whatnot. And I'm going to drag this to the bottom as well. So it's going to specifically compare those two highlighted columns and let me know which of the columns match up and which ones don't. So now I've got a list of which courses might have an issue with the seat count. So if I wanted, I can go in and add a filter and filter that list just to the courses that don't match with their seat counts. And I could go in and do some cleanup. Now, I did this from the beginning of the time on the release site, so I've got courses from 2014. Those are long old. I could go down and find just my most recent courses and, just the current courses if I wanted, and focus on cleaning up just those courses. So like, just my 2019 courses if I wanted, 18, whatever, just the current school year, and do a little cleanup if I needed to. And you'll notice a lot of mine are off, it looks like, by one seat. So go and do my cleanup. So hopefully you learned something new or helpful today. Just to recap, like I said, us working on the support team, we always find that it's most important to get an accurate picture of what's going on before we choose to use course utilities. So using that export and getting the full picture, being that detective and making sure you have all pieces of the information and making sure the seat count's accurate before you go to and use the utility really helps eliminate some of the issues and problems that we have when it comes to seat counts. Because I know it can get frustrating when you look and it's like it says, I have a wait list, but I don't. Or why I had 30 seats, but there's only 24 enrolled. What's going on? That export can be very helpful. And anybody with PD Manager or System Manager has access to the export menu. So use it. Put it to good use. So if you have questions, like always, please direct your questions to the support team. We are here to help. We love to help, and we look forward to working with you and hope to make your experience enjoyable, and we want to ease frustration. So as always, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for tuning in, and please let us know if you have other questions or needs or trainings that would be helpful to you and your staff. Thanks.